Hey everybody. This is your girl CeleXy here of She Shakespeare. And sorry, my bracelets are making a lot of noise. I wanted to go live today because, as many of you know, I am going through a major transformation in my life, all the way down to the soul cellular level. Cellular level is what I like to call it, a complete reprogramming from the inside out. And today, what I want to talk to you about is shadow work. Shadow work. And why, during this transformation, this has become the primary process through which my transformation is taking place. It is, I have no idea how long this video is going to be because I'm just going to allow myself to be in the flow, and I'm going to share with you according to how wisdom directs me to share. And so trust with me that what I am to share with you today is what you receive, and that you are open and capable of processing this, receiving and processing this information, breaking it down, and then rebuilding it for your specific needs along your soul's journey. And so I'm just going to be my authentic self, and this is coming to you raw because this is what I'm feeling right now in this moment. So shadow work. Before I share my perspective of shadow work with you, I am going to read to you what psychology says about shadow work. Shadow work, in analytical psychology, it is either an unconscious aspect of the personality that the conscious ego does not identify in itself, or the entirety of the unconscious, i.e., everything of which a person is not fully conscious. Everything of which a person is not fully conscious. In short, the shadow is the unknown side. It's kind of like the moon, the dark side of the moon. Well, we have a dark side of our being, the unknown side, the invisible, the void. And clearly, this is a continuation, I think, of another video I've recently completed. The shadow work. I mean, I'm just keep it real with you. We've been stimulated or inspired, some may even say programmed, to find ourselves at this moment in our history. I know that I'm not the only one going through a transformative process. Many people are going through different types of transformations, transformations in their roles, transformation in their thought processes, transformation in their spirituality, in the way that they think, in the way that they handle things in life. And so many of us are going through transformation. And so I mean, it's the energy. Our world is going through a transformation. Even Mother Earth herself is going through a transformation. So as above, so below. Whatever happens in the macrocosm is happening in the microcosm. So for every action, there is an equal and opposing reaction. So whatever happens above is happening below. Whatever happening on the right is happening on the left. And of course, that common bond is right there in the center. And that's us. We are kind of in the center of all that's going on around us. So obviously, just like we've known for millennia that we are influenced by the celestial bodies, the moon, the sun, the stars, the planets. We're influenced by those things because those things exist in us as well. And so how do we get to the shadow side from this? And what was I saying? Because I think I lost the flow on a point, but that's okay. I'll come back to it when the time is right. We were entertained a few summers ago by a movie called Us. I know many of you probably remember that, a movie called Us, and that movie was about these humans who lived above earth. They lived a typical human life, but unbeknownst to them, there was this other aspect of themselves that lived below the earth, subterranean, identical beings to the ones who were living above ground. That represented your shadow side, your dark side, your unknown side. Because see, those who lived above the surface or above ground were unaware of the subterranean versions of themselves below ground, completely unaware of their existence. But the subterranean version of them knew about them. They knew about their other aspect above ground, and they set underground forever, wondering why they've been amongst the forgotten. Why conscious self doesn't acknowledge their dark side. Why is that? And I'm at a point in my life that I basically can't partake of anything without gleaning something from it. If I'm going to watch a movie, I'm looking for the subliminal message, because an artist, any artist worth their weight in salt, has a deeper internal reason for even writing the script. They are bearing their soul. They're bearing the dark side. They're bearing their shadow side in their creations. What are you getting at, Celeste? Your shadow side is the absolute reflection or image of who you really are. You recall in another video, I think I may have said this in another video, but then again, I share so much information with other individuals. I may have been talking about it to somebody. When you meet somebody for the first time, I said in a previous conversation, when you meet somebody for the first time, there's 3 versions of you that are actually meeting the other person. There's the you that you allow the world to see, the who you think you are. That's who you share with the world. This is who I am. And then there's a part of you that you only share with close friends and family members, like the real you. And then there's that part of you that you don't even entertain. You don't even spend time with that third aspect of you. Nobody, not even you, gets to see that part of you. That's your shadow. That's the dark side of your moon. That's the unknown side of you. But I've come to tell you today, baby, that is God. That is your wisdom. That is your mediator. That is your comforter. That is your peacekeeper. That is your power, your source. Your everything lies in the dark side. Here I am toiling day and night going through this transformation. And I have to keep reminding myself. And now I'm even realizing that I need to remind those around me. Don't take me too seriously. I am an emotional being. I am an emotional being. I am breath of life. I am soul. I am unconscious. I am the dark side of the moon. I am shadow, living vicariously through that body, through that beautiful face, that magnificent body full of wonder and grace. This is not just my story, it is yours too. So I've come to share the good news right now in the moment. Embrace that dark side. What's going to happen as you begin to do shadow work? Because all shadow work is acknowledging that dark aspect of you actually exists. I said that if you, let me bring some physiology, some medical stuff into this, because I'm gonna draw on all of my experience, right? Someone said that maybe I'm too intelligent. Ooh, is there such a thing? To be too intelligent? Have we become so wise in our own eyes that we can ascribe a level of intelligence to each other? Like, can we gauge what another's intelligence demonstration or expression should look like? Can we also then gauge how much somebody else should shine? We can't. We can't do that. And so what I said is, damn it, I don't want to live in a world where everybody is exactly like me. I want to see and experience every possible aspect of humanity. Because in experiencing every other aspect of humanity, I'm also experiencing me as we share ourselves with each other, as we share ourselves with the world. That's how we get that round world view perspective, that 303rd eye vision. But you have to deal with the dark side. You cannot open your third eye. Your third eye won't even open if you're not even capable of accepting what is happening to you. I resigned to be comfortably uncomfortable in this life that I'm living. I resigned to be comfortably uncomfortable, because see, what I know is anything that gets too comfortable becomes stagnant and there is no growth. And I'm all about growth, expansion, and transformation. Don't get it twisted. I am going to allow myself to experience all these emotions, as jacked up as some of them are. For I know that all things work together for my good. All things, not some things, not every other thing, not some things on Tuesday and a few things on Thursday. No, hell no. Every single thing that happens in my life has purpose. I am being shaped. I am being fashioned into a new creature. I should feel the emotion of this transformation. I said to you the other day, feel the fire. I'm feeling the fire. I'm feeling the fire of refinement. I feel the master's hand. And don't get it twisted. I could just as well say mistress's hand. Master or mistress. It's all about perspective, because they're both working together. The energy, the breath of life within me is single. It's singular. This is about unity. This is about harmony. This is about becoming on one accord, or being on one accord. This is about being equally yoked, not with someone else, within yourself. When we were in the womb, we were all by ourselves, had no concept of what the hell we look like. No mirrors inside the womb. It's just dark. Maybe flicks of light, because we're luminous beings. And so maybe flicks of light penetrated the womb. I like to think of my shadow self as a negative picture of me. Like, when you, back in the day, when you took a picture and you went and got the film developed, you got the negatives and the actual picture. The negative was like the inversion of you. That, if you have to, if it's easier for you to envision something or get a mental picture, that's what I'm trying to help to establish here. Because I have a tendency to talk on a certain level because of my experiences. And I know sometimes that can be confusing to others. And so when I make comparisons or analogies or use metaphor or whatever, that is my best effort to try to break it down so you can understand, no matter where you at in this journey right now, no matter where you at, what rung you are on the ladder of ascension or descension, it doesn't matter. this food is always good, right? The food is always good when we're sharing authentically and from a place of transparency, which is also what I call luminosity. I'm not losing anything by sharing. I'm not losing anything by sharing. If anything, I'm gaining everything by sharing. I am being challenged by everything, my patience, my expectations, but most of all, letting go, taking my hand off the wheel. See, shadow is time. It's time for shadow to drive. Shadow is wisdom. Shadow is God. Shadow is my divine master, mistress, the divine source. It's breath of life. God. Yeah. It's time for her to drive. Ego, bless her heart. Bless her heart. She came and did exactly what she was sent to do. Physically, ego needed to have some experiences. When I speak about my ego, put yourself in my place. Well, okay, maybe not put yourself in my place, but think of yourself as I'm talking. Think of yourself as I'm talking. Because if you're not going through what I'm going through, trust and believe you live long enough, you will go through what I am going through. If you are listening to me on this channel, chances are you've already been through, you're going through, or you're looking forward to going through. That would be the only reason you would want to glean anything from my life experience. All I'm simply doing is sharing my blueprint. Like Jay-Z said, I'm giving you the 411. Not because I expect that you'll go down the same path that I'm going, that you'll have the same experiences that I'm having. No, absolutely not. And heaven forbid if you do. We all came here to experience something different. And we will, no matter what. There's nothing you can do about it. Nature has control over that. It's the law. It is the law. So you will have your own set of experiences. What each one of us get to share is like a tool, or we can even share the entire blueprint. That's what an autobiography is. We can share the entire blueprint. The shadow side, shadow work. I like to think, I would like to think that perhaps the reason why we don't know what the story of Jesus, what was going on in those 21 years that he was absent from the Bible, I'd like to say he was doing shadow work. I'm going to say maybe the first 10 years he was just living, experiencing life, learning. He had the blueprint of the sages. And this is all in theory. I have no idea whether or not this is based on a true story or not. I'm not even going to speculate. I love the principle of it. I love the concept of it. I like the blueprint of it because it is a template that I can now lay over my own life. And I can look at, oh, wait a minute. I can draw parallelisms between my life and the life of Jesus, but not just Jesus, the life of every other Messiah, messenger, holy, philosophical messenger that has ever come before them, and including myself. I can take their life and use it as a template or a blueprint and overlay it on mine. And what I find is up until the age of 12, or even Jesus from the time of his birth until the age of 12, he had these experiences with his family, but then he learned something about himself. He realized, he became aware on a certain level that he was different from his parents. He wasn't like his parents, and he found himself venturing off. Now, Jesus ventured off on his own at the age of 12 when his family traveled to a foreign land. And the family, his parents thought he was lost, but in reality, it was the parents who were lost. Jesus knew exactly who he was and where he needed to be. Right? At the age of 5, I did that. I joined the church. I was led there because of singing, but I joined the church. My parents were not members of the church. My family wasn't. Nobody. I knew nobody. I did make that decision on my own. Parallelisms. Parallelism, this is all I'm talking about. If you look back and reflect over your own life, you will see it. What I love about the shadow work experience is you really get to go back to being a child. All the things that we had to suppress in childhood, when you're doing shadow work, when you're doing the inner work of healing, shout out to Lady Lou, when you're doing the healing work, inner work of healing, which is shadow work, you get to be a kid again. You get to wish for shit, Like I just said to a friend of mine, I wish there was a way I could get people to engage with me when I'm on, social media. I wish I could get them to engage with me on an authentic level, on the basic level, just agreeing with anything. If what I'm saying, if what I've shared is moving you, is touching you on any level, I just wish that I could engage with those individuals. And I found myself wishing, and as an adult at 54, I don't wish. You don't wish. We make things happen, right? We don't want, we don't need, we do. We think and then we do in order to receive, in order to get. I think, I do, I receive, right? But I'm talking about when you in the shadow work, when you in that mindset, when you're in that garden, when you're in the Garden of Eden. Let's get back to Eden and live on top of the world. When you're in the Garden of Eden, when you're in the Garden of Eden, anything's possible. Everything's possible in the garden. Everything is possible in the garden. That's why in this age of transformation, this age of Aquarius that we're living in, the age of all knowing, come on, people, come and go with me. I'm not going through these struggles. I'm not grinding. I was like, I don't use those words. There's no struggle. There's no grinding. There is no whatever other term we use to implicate that we're working hard or diligently or feverishly or whatever the case may be. But when you're doing shadow work, when you're in the Garden of Eden, there is some hustling. There is some grinding. There is some getting down into the muck and the mire. There is some dirtiness, but there's a lot of fantasy too. Remember I told you, for every action, there's an equal and opposing reaction. So we're always going to have what Erykah Badu says in On and On, her rap, and On, something about a tug of war. But all things work together for our good. So even in the tug of war, when we were kids and played tug of war, it was fun. Especially if you were playing over that mud puddle, right? It was fun to pull your friends and loved ones to win, to be on the winning side and pull your opposing teammates into the mud puddle. Did nobody get mad about that? We were having fun. It was play. It was a battle for who was the strongest at that moment. Because then what did we do? We switched up the teams and shit. We switched up the teams. We changed up the dynamics. We tweaked the teams. We adjusted the energy, the gifts, the talents, and abilities. We switched them around to get a different effect or to see if we could. It was fun. We were playing. That's what shadow work is about. And all the stuff that you were told to suppress when you were little, you don't have to wait until you get or develop dementia or Alzheimer's or go through menopause to drop those filters. Drop them now. Drop them now. I ain't trying to be funny, but I just had a thought. Pow! I just had a pearl of wisdom. Everybody ain't going to be able to receive this. But what if the young brothers who wear their pants sagging? Definitely it is rebellion against the status quo, clearly. But what if it's also about doing away with old structures, old ways of thinking, old belief systems? We know everything that we do has a root, but that doesn't mean we can't change it. Just like, nigger. Everybody is familiar with where the root of that comes from. But we have the power to change the energy of anything, especially in the shadow zone. What the movie is called, The Twilight Zone. They should have called it The Shadow Zone, y'all. In the shadow zone, anything is possible. The crazy and the weird and unimaginable to the crazy and the weird and the unimaginable, right? It could be something scary or something super duper exciting. In the shadow world, in the shadow zone, in the outer limits, beyond the sun, that's where a lot of things really happen and where real work gets done. Believe it or not. Sorry to throw my Jesse Jackson on y'all. Be rhyming sometimes. It just happens. I'm just going with the flow. But the shadow, being in the shadow zone is it's scary. It's scary. So I see why a lot of people don't want to go. I can see why you would never want to turn your eyes inward. I could see that. Like I really can I understand that. I get it. I get it because I'm doing it and it's uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable. And you don't fully understand it. And the people outside of you who are watching you go through it don't fully understand it. And if people are in roles of leadership or they've been through a transformation themselves or they've been through some change and, they intimately and sincerely want to help and guide you and instruct you. But what I keep, trying to explain, no, not trying, but what I keep explaining to people is that not only am I going through a physical transformation, meaning a transformation that people can witness with their own eyes just by looking upon my body, because my body is going through a transformation. I know many of you are wondering what's going on with my hair. I've always had issues with my scalp ever since I was in premenopause. I grew up with long, thick, beautiful, healthy hair. But as I started having hormonal changes, I started having issues in my hair. And also I went through a period of being vegan and then pescatarian and all, I've changed my diet and different things like that. And all those things, when you do anything to change the internal chemistry of your body, there's always going to be an external manifestation. And so I've been dealing with issues with my scalp and hair for about 11 years. That means it's almost over. I don't know if the cycle is 11 or 12 years. Intuitively and energetically, I'm going to say it's 12, just because 1 and 2 equal 3, which is it's a cycle within another cycle. So anyway, I don't want to go into all of that. But anyway, I decided that because I'm on this holistic journey of basically regenerating my cells from the inside out, doing this full inner work of healing, that I would cut off my hair and allow my scalp to be exposed to nature, to receive the sun and the rain and the wind and the fire internally, as I rebuild my engine because I exhausted it living this life external of myself. And apparently for me, that's what needed to happen. COVID and the shutdown in 2020, the pandemic of 2020, all of that, if you don't see the value in and of it for yourself, please take 5 minutes to just really stop and think. Are you really the same person you were before this pandemic? And if you recognize that even just 1% of you is different, and at least 1% of you would have to be different. If you didn't lose a loved one to COVID, you had COVID, you knew someone who had COVID, you suffered from the shutdown, you lost your job, you lost financing, you lost your company, your business. On some level, every single one of us was affected by this pandemic and this shutdown. and this opportunity to just slow life down long enough for you to turn your eyes inward. Like if you could literally take your eyeball and flip it to where your eye was looking to the back of your brain, what you would find is first the cross. You see, there are two nerves that run from your optic or from your from your eye. There's an optic nerve on each eye that crosses at the back of their head. They call it the optic chiasma, the crucifixion, the cross. Okay, so if you could turn your eyeball inward, where you could see inside of your head without changing the placement of any of the nerves or anything else in the body, just turning those eyeballs inward, you would first see a cross, the optic chiasma. If you peered through the cross, if you could somehow have like x-ray vision, and remember I said in the shadow world, when you turn your eyes inward, consider that negative image of a picture, of a photo from back in the 70s or 80s. When you took your film to be developed, you got that negative film. So when you turn your eyes inward, think of that negative film. So you're getting an image of what's inside your head. I'm painting a picture for you. So you turn your eye inward. The first thing you see is the cross sitting on Calvary at the temple of pineal. The pineal gland sits right beyond the cross. And there, shadow, God sits on the throne. I can't make this stuff up. I have entertained a high level perspective of many other philosophies, many other religions, and so forth, and spiritual practices. And one of the things that is just synchronetic right now, as I'm sharing this with you, is the tarot. A couple days ago, my tarot card was the Emperor. The Emperor is a divine masculine who sits on a throne on a barren mountain. In one hand, in his right hand, he holds a scepter, which is this ankh that I have on my right arm. And in the other hand, he holds the world. And that was the card that I got the other day. And the message was, you know what? And I'm not even going to try to force myself to remember it because it is pertinent to what I'm sharing. So I'm just going to look it up, because it was significant. I mean, I was like, wow, let's see, where is it at? Crap. So anyway, yeah, I wanted to one of my relatives, I think, was asking about tarot and some other things as to whether or not that was something that she should entertain. And what I would tell anybody, when you are on your prodigal journey or your fool's journey of self-discovery, you are basically what they call a truth seeker. Many people leave the church. I was sat down, but many people leave the church. I was supposed to leave, but I'm kind of hard-headed. My ego, my ego is a mother. You hear me? A mother. She's the Kraken. She's a freaking dragon. She said she's not going out without a fight. And here's the thing, I keep telling her, wisdom keeps telling her, you don't have to leave. Ego, sweetie, conscious, we require your services, servant. We still require you to lead, servant. Your servant is, in my role as a nurse, I operated as what I called a servant leader. A servant leader. I served first and led second. I was served, even as a leader, you serve. But when you serve first, especially when you know that you serve yourself first, leading happens without effort. Effort with a capital T. When you serve yourself first, that means serve your master first. That means serve the God within first. That means serve the divine, feminine, masculine that sits on the throne. See, it's the emperor and the empress that sits on the throne. But because we have been living under a male-dominated energy, a patriarchy. Even the tarot is reflecting the age that we are in. However, the tarot includes the Empress as well. So you have the Emperor and the Empress. What I love about it is the two of them are sitting from my perspective, the two of them united, forming a third principle: singularity, unity, one accord, a threefold cord. Divine feminine, divine masculine sit on the throne together. In the right hand, they hold the scepter. The scepter represents life, regeneration, and rebirth. And in the other hand, the world. Well, what am I doing right now? Right now, I have 3 scepters on my right appendage. On my right arm, I have a tattooed scepter, still in healing phase. A new skin is coming. Because that's what happens when you get a tattoo, right? The ink is embedded into your skin, and then the old skin burns off, literally, and you get a new skin with the pigment of your tattoo. So I have the ankh, the scepter, the symbol, and the eye of Ra, the symbol of life, birth, and regeneration, right here. And then I have it right here, hanging, dangling from my bracelet, and then I have it right here. I wear these on a regular basis. And then what I have in my left hand right now is nothing, but I could put this mouse in it, and this would be symbolic of the world, because I'm on social media, which has access to the World Wide Web, which is everybody in the world if you have a cell phone or a PC or an iPad. What am I saying? You don't have to go out and get a tattoo. You don't have to go out and buy a bracelet or a ring. Just recognize that life and death lies in the power of your own tongue. So what am I saying? Shadow work, shadow work, shadow work. We must do the shadow work. We must go inward. We must go inside to see the master, the mistress, God, divine source of life, sitting at the throne of pineal, waiting for you, been waiting for you. And when shadow self turns around and reveals themselves to you, what do you expect to see? The image of you in the mirror? The image of you, or the image I'm looking at right now as I'm filming this video? Darkness. The dark side of the moon. Your shadow is darkness. If you go outside, oh my God, I had this conversation yesterday. If you go outside while the sun is shining, turn your back to the sun. When you turn your back to the sun, you are living beyond the sun. That is a demonstration that you are beyond the sun. You need not travel beyond the sun in outer space. You are already living beyond the sun. But when you turn your back on the sun, on the sun, transformation in progress. When you turn your back on the sun, what you will find is your shadow. When you look down at your shadow, you will not be able to see anything other than the shape of you. I'm in love with the shape of you. Me and my brother Briscoe sing that song in our group Evolve. I'm in love with the shape of you. I'm in love with the shape of you. I'm in love with the shape of you. How many of you are in love with the shape of you? The shape of you. When you look down at the ground and see your shadow, you see the shape of you. If you're standing in my backyard, I see my shadow, which is the shape of me. But inside that shape is whatever I'm looking at the shadow on. In my backyard, it's green grass. Woo! Filled with nature, baby. Filled with nature. My shadow is filled with the glory of nature. What is in the glory of nature? Breath of life. It is the exchange of oxygen and CO2. Breath of life. For the Bible says in the book of James, what is your life if not a vapor? appear and then disappear almost in the very same essence or the same amount of time that it appeared. Fractional you are. Fractional. Your life is but a vapor. But because we have become aware, because we are conscious, and because we have taken the journey inward. So when you prodigal, that's living outside of yourself. So I'm not penalizing myself for having lived outside of myself. I'm not penalizing myself for having been a people pleaser. I'm not penalizing myself for any of the experiences that I've had. I'm not penalizing myself for any of the emotion that I suppressed through programming. I'm not penalizing myself for that. No. I'm not penalizing myself. Instead, I am embracing the fullness of what it represents. I am embracing the fullness of what it represents. Everything in your life has purpose and reason. Your spirit, soul, breath of life is here to have an experience, and it's doing it through your body. Your soul wants you to keep this body healthy and moving because your soul, breath of life, God is invisible. Darkness. I know I'm tripping. And I'm having a great time expressing because I want you to feel what it is I'm talking about. I know that you've had moments where you sat down and you thought about something in the darkness. And you remember when you close your eyes in the darkness and then open them again, how it takes a moment for your eyes to adjust so that you can actually see images again. It's the same thing when you turn your eyes inward. At first, it's pure darkness, but then you begin to adjust and you start to see images again. You see how my camera just lit up at that same time. And you see images. But when you see images, there's no characteristics. There's no eyes. There's no ears. When you see your shadow beyond the sun, all you see is the shape of you. What you choose to fill that shape up with is up to you. When you do your shadow work, that is Disney. That's where all the magic happens. That's where I told a friend this morning, I said, in the shadow realm, in the inner sanctum, in the inner sanctuary, is where you not only get to design your mandala, your labyrinth, your maze, your template, your blueprint. It is not only where you get to design the next journey beyond this transformation, you get to design what your vessel, your shadow, you get to design what's in it, what you carry with you along the journey. So see, when you go through the fire, when you're in the transformational fire, you are burning off impurities, those habits and behaviors and attitudes that no longer serve you. But ego, she will want to hold on. He will want to hold on because, see, it is that ego that has defined who you are to the world all these years. If you let that aspect of you go, what will the world think? They won't recognize you. They won't know who you are. I had a friend say that, after 30 days of being in the presence of themselves, 30 days of being in their own presence, in the presence of the shadow of the God of within, 30 days of being like that, the next time they were around their friend, their external friend, they didn't recognize him. You've changed. See, that's what happens after a transformation. And don't get me wrong, there are minor, small transformations that may occur without any physical evidence. I'm not negating that because I'm possible. If it's possible, anything's possible, especially once you once you remember who you are, right? Once you remember who and what you are, anything is possible. And so I was saying, when I saw my shadow beyond the sun and I saw the shape of me, which represented my shadow, my God, my inner being, I recognized that it was filled with grass. And then I also recognized that I could fill that shadow with whatever I so choose. I also realized that wherever my shadow is cast, that I am also. Now that messed me up. Because beyond the sun, looking down on the grass, I saw my shadow, the shape of me, and I was grass. I was filled with grass. When I walked over to my patio, I cast a shadow on the patio. I was filled with concrete. I am that. I am grass and I am concrete. If I could cast a shadow onto the trees, I would be the trees. Wherever I am that. I'm disclosing a secret. This is what Jesus was telling the world, and they weren't able to receive him because he was making himself equal to God. Are you then a God? And Jesus replied, I and my Father are one. Well, I said we're in a patriarchal energy. So the emphasis is on Father. And I could very well say that because we are moving into divine feminine energy, I could say I and my mother are one. In fact, the movie I Am Mother came out. Same thing. The writer of that script was portraying or expressing her inner thoughts, her God thoughts, her inner wisdom, what breath of life had allowed her to experience and then formulate in a way that she could convey it and share it with the world. It's no different than what I'm doing with you now. I've alchemized my thoughts. My thoughtology is what I call it, a study of my thoughts, and now I'm sharing it with you. That's what we do. That's where we're all. Why do you think they came up with YouTube? Everybody should have a YouTube. Everybody should have a YouTube sharing their personal story as a blueprint for someone. This is how we encourage one another. We all become ministers on YouTube. And we're all experts on at least one thing, and that is ourselves. There is nobody who can tell your story better than you. I said that with the story of Jesus and Buddha and some of these other messengers and other people who have shared their blueprints with us, other people had to write their stories. We are in a unique opportunity in our history that we can write our own story. Amazon has a platform where you can publish your own daggone book, spelling errors and all that kind of stuff and everything. They don't even check for that. When I tell you can write your own story, I just told you that when you do the shadow work, when you do the inner work of healing, when you get to know that God being that sits on the throne at the crucifix on the temple of Pineal, you will see when you first get in there, you will see that the mountain is barren. The mountain is barren. The mountain is barren. Why is that? Why is that? I can't even spell emperor. How do you spell emperor? Why is the temple barren, y'all? I'm going to tell you why. You haven't produced any new fruit. Remember, I told you, once you get to the point where you recognize that, hey, I need to turn my eyes inward. It is in turning your eyes inward. It is in going inside of yourself. It is in doing the inner work of healing. It is in going to meet your shadow side, the dark side of you, the unknown, the unconscious. It is in making that it is in beginning to build that relationship that you discover that you are God. And once you make that discovery, of course, the mountain is going to be barren because now there's new work for you to do. You must first design the journey that you are about to undergo. You know, I think I said before, not only will you become the bricklayer, the mason, the bricklayer, you also build the brick. You make the brick. You put the ingredients together to create the bricks. How do you do that? You speak those things into existence. What do you need to have a solid foundation for your next journey, for you to launch from? What's required to fortify that foundation? That's your launching pad. That's your launching pad. You have the power in your right hand, your sword of righteousness, and you have the whole world at your feet. There's a passage that says the God will make the world your enemies your footstool. Well, the world has been our enemy, and now the world is going to become our footstool, our friend, because we all work together anyway. I want to say thank you to whoever is watching with me. I really do appreciate you. I wish I knew who you were, and if you would share your name with me, or even shoot me an email or a text message. Email is CeleXyDesign@hotmail.com. Text message at 317-627-6701. If you don't want to share who you are on social media live, let me know who you are personally. I want to bond with you in spirit and in truth. So thank you for following me and continuing to listen. I want to make that acknowledgement. For the rest of you who will probably be hearing this after it's been recorded, we need to take that time to do the shadow work. Once you do that, you get to not only build your own journey, your next experience, your next chapter, your next book, but you get to put the ingredients in it, and you get to decide who you're going to be along that next journey. Are you going to continue in the roles that you've been playing up to now? Your representative, and that version you share with the world. Are you going to continue in that? Are you going to expand on that? Or are you going to walk away from that? What you've been sharing with your family and friends, that aspect of you that you've been sharing with them, are you going to continue with that? Or are you going to walk away from that and do something different? And then now that you have come into atonement, at one-ment with your Godhead, now the ego conscious you has connected with unconscious you. The subconscious programming will begin without you doing anything. It's exactly that. It's an automatic process that happens. It just happens. And so now what happens, and what's going on with me, is conscious me and unconscious me. They get along. They love each other. But see, conscious me is learning unconscious me. Conscious me is learning the God in me. Conscious me has not been aware of the God in me. So conscious me doesn't know how to follow God in me. This is a new thing that is happening in me. This is a new thing that will happen in you too. It may not happen the same way that it's happening to me, but happen it will. I'm just getting to know the God in me. I'm just getting to know her. She just asked me, well, she'd been trying to get my attention for a long time. But I've been hard-headed. And see, conscious ego thought she was in control of everything, even her spiritual journey. She did. So unconscious me, just like in the movie Us, the God in me had to raise a fuss, had to create some damage, had to send a virus ravaging through this body to get my attention, had to burn out. At first I said just my generator, burn out my adrenal glands, but no, baby. Burnt out my engine. Burnt out my engine. Burnt out my engine. And my engine is just now beginning to get to a point where I can start it and it'll turn over. That's all right now. That's my metaphor. I can start, it'll turn over, but it won't hold it won't keep running. It'll turn over. It'll let you know, hey, I'm here. I'm here. I recognize that you're aware of me now, but you still got work to do. So what's going on with my conscious ego? Because she has been in control for so long, She is not surrendering without some level of a fight. And it ain't even like she got the energy to fight. So it's like, really, chick, really just let go and be in the flow. Just do what comes natural. Let go. That's easier said than done when your neurons have been programmed. We're talking about muscle memory. We're talking about nerve memory. We're talking about the programming that has occurred for all these years. That stuff, those are bonds that are hard to break. Now, because my engine burnt out, that weakened the bonds, right? That's why my cells, the membranes around my cells have weakened. That's how the virus got in. But it was necessary. The bonds to the old you have to be broken. The bonds to the old way of expressing have to be broken. Conscious ego must surrender to the God within. Not stop working, because no, you got to keep working. I still need you to be the servant and the leader. You're just not the master, but we work together. Servant is the feminine aspect, the feminine principle. Leader is the masculine aspect, the masculine principle. It exists in everyone, whether you are expressing as a male or a female. I am talking about the divine energies within you. I am using this even as an analogy to help you understand the dynamic of what's going on with you, because we have two polarities, a Ruta and a Tuta, a beginning and an end, an Alpha and Omega. It exists within. We have a North Pole and a South Pole, a North Node and a South Node, an East and a West Node. Come and go with me, somebody. That is the Trinity. Ego, conscious, unconscious, God. It's funny that we call God unconscious, ain't it? Ain't that something? But it's unconscious to the conscious because she hadn't been aware of it. And then they call the conscious, the unconscious, and the subconscious. That's the programmer, the mediator. Masculine. Conscious. No. Conscious is masculine. Subconscious is feminine. She's a peacemaker, harmony. Unconscious, God. Threefold cord that cannot be broken. How many ways can we put this? This story has been told many, many times. I'm just telling it to you now from my perspective, because I'm in the fire. I'm going through this thing, y'all. I don't really know how am I supposed to be. I don't even know. When unconscious, when the God within me got my attention, really got my attention, like I heard my voice say to me, show me how much you love me. I'm like, what the fuck? Where did that come from? That's because I had finally got to a place in my life where I was being still. Because it didn't even fully happen when I had COVID. Even though I was ran down to nothing, no energy, not even to get up to pee, not even to pee, not even to have the urge to pee. That's how drained I was. Everything in my body had to shut down in order for God to fight the virus. Or in order for subconscious, it wasn't God. God don't fight. In order for the mediator, subconscious, the programmer. And she discovered, now I knew this during COVID, the program that is currently running on this operating system is now obsolete. It is obsolete. It is outdated. It is no longer valuable in this new paradigm. We're moving into the age of Aquarius. That which was old cannot go into the new in the state of consciousness that it has been in. You can't enter into the kingdom of heaven at the level that you are on. So you must go through a transformation. Your vibration must be increased. Your consciousness must be expanded so that you can elevate to this higher frequency, because you can't bring all that shit with you up to the next level. I told you that in the other video. Bag ladies, bag men, You're not welcome. You can't come in. You got too much weight. You got to get light. Pack light. You got to pack light so you can fly into the next dimension, into the next frequency, into the next expression that you get to decide what it is. Once you discover that inner you, that God within you, that God that sits on the throne with the staff of righteousness and the world at its feet, you are the magician, you are the metaphysician, you are the preacher, the minister, the candlestick maker, the baker. You any and everything you choose to be along this next journey. That's the wonderful thing of discovering God within. I don't care what the cosmos, what your natal chart said about you, what your astrological or astronomy, I don't care about what any of those things said with regard to who you should be or express as. All that shit is over with this next level, living. You get to decide. You get to write the course that you want to take, the path that you want to be on, the experiences that you want to have, and you get to write and describe who you are as you do that. You get to determine what you look like and how you express. Whether you hold on to your past, the stories that made up. Remember yesterday I was talking about the high notes. The high notes. When you're sharing the high notes, what is your intention is to elevate, inspire, encourage, motivate, transform, serve as a catalyst, be a gap filler, bridge builder. Whatever it is, you get to decide. You get to decide. That's how you know you are God, operating as God within. God is you, operates as you, is within you. It is you. It is you. Always been you. Always been you. God's been waiting for our return forever since we were born, since we separated at birth. God's been waiting for you to return, prodigal child. And in this energy, you get to be like a child. I wish upon a star. I want to go to a land that's full of love, harmony, peace, joy. We call that heaven. Well, guess what? You can go right here, right now. That's where I'm on my way to. Let's get back to Eden and live on top of the world. But see, back to Eden is not going backward. Eden is always new. Eve, Adam and Eve represent a new beginning. Eve represents the time before the beginning, which is what we're in now in the Eve. Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, the time before the beginning. I like to think of if there's an end, then Eve is what's in the middle. EVE. EVE. What Eve used to say, EVE. EVE. EVE is a time in between the end and the beginning. The Eve is what occurs before the beginning. So it is in the Eve that you're doing the shadow work. It is in the Eve that you're designing your labyrinth, your mandala, your maze, your blueprint, your template. It is in the Eve time, in the Eve that you're doing those things and that you're designing yourself. See, so when you're in the fire, when you're in this refining phase, when you're doing your shadow work, what you're doing is taking inventory of everything that you've ever been, every experience that you've ever had, and everything that you've learned, everything that you've acquired. Not just an inventory of those things external of yourself, but an inventory of those things internal of yourself. Wisdom, intellect, knowledge, all of that. Experiences, emotions, feelings, sensations, all of that. You're analyzing and assessing. You're taking an inventory of all those things. And just before the Eve comes to the end and the new beginning, the sun rises again. Just before that time, You allow everything that has no further value, that serves no purpose. Somebody asked me today, why do you keep bringing up the fact that you were sat down from the ministry? Because I'm still in that energy cycle. I'm still in that energy cycle. It represented the beginning of another cycle. It did. So it represents a milestone in my life. The year 2010, it just wasn't the year I was sat down from the ministry. It was it was the year that my life began to, it was an Eve. It was an Eve period. And maybe my Eve began in 2008 when I knew I was supposed to leave the church. The Eve, the time before the beginning. The time before the beginning. And then when I actually got sat down and divorced my husband and all that stuff, that was that the Eve before the beginning. Because then I was beginning my life with a whole new chapter. It was a whole new chapter, a whole new. I wasn't this. You feel me? I was no longer a minister. I was no longer a wife. And in essence, I was no longer a mother because my youngest child moved in with his father. I was an empty nester. In 2010, I was an empty nester. My role had changed. My perspective on life, everything was in an uproar. I had my wilderness experience, my Job experience. I was like Job. And then the scripture, there was a verse that stood out to me like a sore thumb. And it said, in the time before there was a moon. You can't find that scripture in the Bible anymore. But in 2010, as I was going through my Job, my wilderness experience, that passage of scripture caught my eye, and I discovered that I had a piece of art from the Mayan ruins in Mexico, Yucatan. I had collected a piece of art from there in 2008. And what the art represented is the time before there was a moon. When I tell you my journey began in the eve of 2008, or 2008 represented the eve because that's when I knew I was supposed to leave. That's when I acquired the art. Did not connect that back then. Just really making those connections now, even as I speak to you. So you are getting my transformation in real time. You're getting it in real time. I have learned so much about myself studying my thoughts. Someone would call that overthinking. I call it reflecting, honey. I'm doing an inventory of all the expressions I've had, of all the experiences I've been in, you're part of. And I'm deciding what ones I keep with me and what ones I put to bed, put to rest, because I'm coming forth brand new. So how do I choose to express in this new awakening that's coming probably in 2022? I had my year of the RE in 2011. That's when I think I told you before in the previous video, I was just bombarded with RE, rewind, rethink, revise, reword, rewrite, redo. Everything with the RE, my year of the remembering. That was the ultimate thing, was to remember. So for the last 11 years, I have been remembering myself. So that when the shutdown occurred, when I came down with COVID, when my immune system was attacked, when the war began, the true World War III. Cat Williams, by the way, is coming out with a comedy tour called World War III. Come and go with me, y'all. When I tell you I'm tapped into the universal T, I'm in that song, baby. Gerald Levert. I want to dance in my songs. In my songs, someone said to me that was their favorite song and that the song even reminded them of me. But in my song, in my story, I write the verses. I write the chorus, but it's God that gives me the melody. God gives me the melody. The power within me gives me the melody. Conscious writes the lyrics. Subconscious develops the path, programs the path. We working together to become a new version, a better, expanded, elevated version of myself. I read some things in the past about this new race being the bright race. I don't know if you know, but we have already given birth to the 6th root race. We are in what they call the fifth root race, but we have already given birth to the sixth root race. That sixth root race also ushers in the age of enlightenment or the age of Aquarius. We've already given birth to that race. They are already among us. They say that the race will be called the bright race. I like to think that that means because we are illuminated. Thine eye has become single, and we radiate from the inside out a light that cannot be explained. I'd like to say that that light is so luminescent and bright that you see the full spectrum of the rainbow in the aura. You know, when they talk about people's aura, you can only see, like my aura today. I think I'm generating yellow, and that's the color I chose to put on today, Tuesday. And I don't know. I'm feeling the sun today. I'm feeling sun energy today. And even my skin tone has kind of a yellowish hue to it today as well. But at any rate, I just think that in this new expression, instead of one color that you're emanating from your energy, because you are in alignment, because your chakra energy centers are in alignment, your wheels within wheels are in alignment, then you're going to radiate the full spectrum of the rainbow, all the colors. All the colors, and that will be the bright race. And we dwell, or they dwell among us now. I think I'm coming down. I think I'm coming down. Shadow work, shadow work, shadow work. It is so apropos for such a time as this. It's 111, y'all. It's 111. 111. Conscious, subconscious, and unconscious must come together to create the unified singularity in the one individual. It is in every individual becoming the fullness of the oneness that they are that we will come together in this world to build that new kingdom, that new structure, that new paradigm. It is us together collectively, but individually first. You must collect yourself first. Prune, fine tune, de-weed, declutter. Do those things first in your temple. Sweep your temples clean and make room for the new version of yourself and the new journey into this new paradigm. That's where we're headed. The question is, are you ready? Are you willing to do the work? You must work while it is day, because the time will come when you will no longer be able to work, and all you'll be able to do is have fun. For we know that all things work together for the good of them who love God, God within, and who are called according to those purposes. That purpose. We know that. We know that. We know that all things, good, bad, or indifferent, it matters not what it appears to the physical or the natural eye. For the editor, the grand chief, the grand architect, the editor in chief. See, that unconscious mind has always been sitting back there, editing out what you're not ready for. What you think you're seeing with the natural eye is being edited by the unconscious mind. God within. When thine eye becomes single, that is when you get a 360-degree perspective. And it is the editor who makes that decision based upon how you manage your shadow work, how you embody that, how you express that, how you let your light shine in the midst of. You remember how we talked about in the church whenever you went on a fast, we were always instructed that your fast should not appear as though you are suffering. Do not give off the appearance of suffering. If you are denying yourself from something, clearly you are denying yourself from something to make room for something better, right? This is the same thing. Shadow work is about clearing out the old mess, cleaning out the cobwebs, getting the spiders out of the corners and cracks and the lint balls and stuff. You know, clearing out the mess, the muck and the mire to make room for the beautiful things your heart desires. That's what shadow work is from CeleXy's perspective. And oh, did I mention it's scary in the dark places? But this is something you want to do. This is something you're pulled to do. Remember, I talked about the transformation of the caterpillar into the butterfly? There's a magnetic pull to elevation. There's a magnetic pull to expansion. You don't have to want to do it. You don't have to want to do it. All you got to do is be. It will draw you to it like a moth to a flame. Burned by the fire. The fire is the renewing process. So once you complete the inner work of healing that we are calling shadow work, going to the dark side of the moon, and for some of you, maybe even the time before there was a moon, there's work to be done, and we must work while it is day, for the night cometh when no one will work because we'll be too busy having fun. So write your story, reinvent yourself, choose your new expression, what you choose to outpicture and share with the world. But when you go out and share yourself with the world in this new expression, it is all of you. Why not take all of me? I'm going to bring you my representative, my real, and my dark side. The question is, can you handle it? This has been your girl, CeleXy for She Shakespeare, talking about shadow work from my perspective. Go forth and be blessed. I send forth my blessings, and you can bless yourself. And stay woke, stay whole, and generate those great vibrations. I love you.